Good morning. Welcome to the King's Report News Hour, sixth day of the sixth month in the 16th year of Chungi. We have a lot of sixes today, don't we? Anyway, Tim Miller is sitting in for the second king of Chungu. Let's go see what's going on around the kingdom, shall we? And let's see. In Chongpyeong, Tennessee, currently 73 degrees, mostly cloudy. 86 for a high today, cloudy and humid. A thunderstorm around this afternoon. Tonight, 69 for a low, humid thunderstorm around this evening, then becoming cloudy. And then in father's hometown, Cheongju in North Pyongan Province, Korea, 74 degrees currently. And let's see now, 72 for a low tonight, overcast and humid with rain, heavy at times. Watch for flash flooding while you're up there in Cheongju. And then tomorrow, high of 83, cloudy and very humid with occasional rain and a thunderstorm. In northeast Pennsylvania, 65 degrees and mostly sunny right now. Very warm and humid with intervals of clouds today and sunshine. A thunderstorm cannot be ruled out. High of 88. And tonight, 71 for a low, overcast, warm and humid with a couple of showers and a thunderstorm. And down in Limestone County, Pennsylvania, Texas, Limestone County, Texas, I'm sorry, at the Liberty Rock RV Park and Campground, currently 71 to start the day, mostly sunny. 94 for a high today, mostly sunny and humid through the day, breezy this afternoon. Tonight, clear and humid, low of 73. And then at the Suncheon Palace in Korea, 79, currently mostly clear, partly to mostly cloudy and uncomfortably humid tonight, low of 75. Tomorrow, 94, a bit of rain in the morning, otherwise rather cloudy, hot, humid, danger of dehydration, heat stroke if outside for extended periods of time. And at the Gunma Palaces in Japan, currently 88, even though it's in the evening, already 9 o'clock, but it's still 88 degrees. Clear and humid tonight, low of 73, hot tomorrow, 95. Okay, so Gunma takes the prize today, maybe. Hot and some humid, some hot and some sun, then turning cloudy, occasional afternoon rain and thunderstorm. 95. Let's see what Elon has to say. 99. Okay. Anyway, currently 84 and clear in Elon, Taiwan. Clear to partly cloudy tonight, 79 for a low tonight. Tomorrow, high of 99 degrees, sunshine and hot, danger of dehydration and heart stroke if outside for extended periods of time. Yes. All right, so Elon takes the prize today. All right, and let's go to Father's Word, and I'm in the book on sin and restoration through indemnity. And I'm in chapter 2, section 3, which is section 3.1, which is subtitled Satan is Lucifer, is the fallen archangel Lucifer. Satan is the fallen archangel Lucifer. It's the title. All right, so Father here is speaking January 21st, 1991. Originally, human beings were supposed to inherit true life and true lineage centering on God and have authority over the universe and live in glory. That was the original idea for human beings, right? But because of the fall, we received, there is no subject here in this clause, they received Satan's love or Satan's lineage and Satan's life centering on Satan's love. Satan is the enemy of God, the enemy of God's love, and an adulterer. Okay. I think most people, probably including ourselves to some extent, don't realize the huge gap between what was originally intended for us as human beings and what we actually have today. All the wars, all the famine, all the things that people are trying to resolve. All the drug issues, all these issues, immorality, of course, so forth and so on. They all came from the human fall, and without the human fall, the world would be dramatically different. And as Father said, we would be living in glory. We'd be living in glory. And of course, our political system would be different. Our economic system would be different. Right now, the Muslim/communist candidate who was elected to be the Democrat candidate for mayor in November is saying that there should be no billionaires. Billionaires should not exist. Right. And of course, this is a common thing that communists like to say, because they use this to try and create envy and struggle. But of course, okay, if they're not supposed to be any billionaires, then let's look at communist countries. In communist countries, you always have an upper class, a communist leadership, and also major communist members. We're very rich, okay? There shouldn't be billionaires. Tell that to China. Tell that to Kim Jong-un. All right? There are billionaires in China. Kim Jong-un is definitely a billionaire. We don't know how many billions, but definitely a billionaire. Okay. Because communism actually exacerbates the wealth inequality. It does not resolve the wealth inequality. Oh, sure, you can tax the wealthy, so forth and so on, but then somehow the wealthy are take their money elsewhere, and all of a sudden you realize that, or the communist dictators realize that they need the billionaires, and so then they make a deal with them, and the billionaires come back and they're even richer than before. I think that's what happened in the Soviet Union. In the Soviet Union, of course, there was and also in North Korea, there's a department store that is exclusively for people of a certain political status, right? For the billionaires and for some others as well, they're allowed to be there. So anyway, let's look at this article about billionaires shouldn't exist. It says Zoran Mamdini, as he runs to be mayor of the world's billionaire capital. Who's writing this? That's a clever headline by whoever wrote it. Insider.com. Zoran Mamdini, the Democratic candidate for New York mayor, has said billionaires shouldn't exist. Frankly, it's so much money in a moment of such an inequality, told NBC. New York has the most billionaires of any city in the world. But I've heard that they are selling their properties and moving elsewhere, some to Florida, some to New Jersey, some to Pennsylvania, Connecticut. The list is endless. The 33-year-old left-winger. Wait a second. Wait a second. Left-winger. Hold on just a minute. If this were, if this other shoe were on, right? If this were talking about a conservative who is an equal distant as this guy away from the norm, he would be what? He would be an extremist, right? Extremist, right-wing extremist. And definitely this guy is a left-wing extremist. To say that billionaires should not exist, that's definitely left-wing extremism. A 33-year-old left-winger. Sounds like he plays baseball. He plays left field in baseball. Is that what it sounds like? Or else he's a pitcher, but he's a left-handed pitcher. They call left-handed pitchers southpaw because of the layout of the baseball field. Left-handed pitchers, I think, are facing south, as I understand. I may be wrong about that, but anyway, left winger. No, come on. The 33-year-old extreme leftist, the extreme leftist candidate who defeated former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo to be the Democrats' New York City mayoral candidate, told NBC News Sunday, "I don't think that we should have billionaires because, frankly, it is so much money in a moment of such inequality." He added, "What we need more of is equality across our city and across our state, across our country. And I look forward to work with everyone, including billionaires, right, to make a city that is fair for all of them." Including billionaires he's going to work with. All right. Yeah, you may have to do a Zoom call for that one. Cuomo's campaign for the Democratic nomination was backed by billionaires, including hedge fund manager Bill Ackman and former New York Mayor Mike Bloomberg. And that's interesting, but I wonder where Mike Bloomberg actually lives. And Bill Ackman, I wonder where he actually lives. Bill Ackman is a famous investor. And Mike Bloomberg, of course, we are familiar with him. He's trying to get rid of all guns in the country. According to Altrada's 2024 billionaire census, New York has the most billionaires of any city. It has 123 billionaires with a combined net worth of $759 billion, Forbes reported in April. NBC asked Mamdani to respond to President Donald Trump calling him a communist lunatic. Mamdani said, "I'm fighting for the very working people that he ran a campaign to empower, that he has since then betrayed." All right. So yeah, there is I guess, a tug of war between President Trump and the lunatic left wing. And President Trump is right. It is the lunatic left wing, and that's what James Carville calls it as well. He's a Democrat. He's a Democrat strategist. Right? It is the lunatic left wing, and this guy is the principal representative of that lunatic left wing. Some people are calling him the leader of the Democratic Party now. And Mamdani said that he called himself a democratic socialist. And Mamdani referred to Martin Luther King Jr.'s words from 1961. Oh my goodness, yes. King would be appalled. Call it democracy or call it democratic socialism, but there must be a better distribution of wealth within this country for all God's children. So how do you bring that out? I think you do that by, obviously, we do need to introduce a new economic system, which the new Constitution does, right? And how does it do it? It makes it easier for people to start their own businesses. Because the way that you accumulate wealth, the best way to accumulate wealth is to start a business. And so government should not be getting in the way of starting business. But the left wing always, the Democrats and especially their lunatic left wing wants to increase the role of government. And they want to take away the freedom of people to start businesses freely. And yes, some of them will fail, but then if you also have a strong family system, then those people who fail can come back and start something new. And actually, I think the majority of businesses do fail at some point down the road. So the ability to start new businesses is important. And the new Constitution does this by saying that, okay, you cannot have holding companies. Banks, any bank cannot have more than, 2%, I think, of the entire banking industry. And also government laws, at least on the federal level, all have a sunset clause, 10 years. They go out of existence at 10 years 10 years later after they're passed. So there are many ways that the new Constitution limits the power of government. And the more the power of government is limited, the more power is given to the people. More power is given to the people. But communists, they want to do the opposite. Even Democrat socialists, they want to do the opposite. Okay, whatever you call yourself. This guy is a lunatic communist. He may call himself a Democrat socialist, but still he's a lunatic communist, just like President Trump said. Some billionaires think they should be taxed more. Okay, well, if that's the case, then no one is stopping you from writing a check. You can write a check to the Treasury Department and put it in the mail. No one is stopping you from doing that. George Soros and Abigail Disney were among the 18 billionaires who signed an open letter in 2019 to presidential candidates supporting a moderate wealth tax on the richest 1%. Those of us in the richest 1/10 of the richest 1% should be proud to pay a bit more of our fortune forward to America's future, the letter said. What's the matter? You can't find your checkbook? Can't find a pen? Other prominent left-wingers have said, communists, all right, have said billionaires should not exist. Democrat Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who endorsed Mamdani in the primary, has said a system that lets billionaires exist while Americans continue to live in poverty is wrong. So make the government smaller, give people more freedom to start more businesses. Right? Right now, it's extremely difficult to start a business, and also it's also difficult to hire people, because once you hire people, for one thing, you have to pay into the Social Security system, to the Medicare system. You have to pay into insurance, disability insurance, and unemployment insurance, and you have to pay into all sorts of things. It's very expensive to hire people. And those kinds of things should also be made so it's easier for people to start businesses without having to go into all that extra expense. But no, these people, they want to increase the role of government. They want to increase, they think that the function of government is to redistribute wealth. And where does that come from? Well, it comes from Marx. It comes from Marx. Okay, so that is the story then on the New York candidate. Okay. All right, let's see. Actually, I wanted to start today with, I was going to make that my third story after I did a couple others, but it sort of worked out this way, didn't it? That's right. That's okay. So the U.S. Army Pacific Chief says U.S. is making invasion of Taiwan more challenging for China. All right. Let's take a look at that, how they're doing that. U.S. military is making a potential Chinese Communist Party invasion against Taiwan across the Taiwan Strait more difficult, said Army General Ronald P. Clark, commander of U.S. Army Pacific. I like the way that they said that this is not invasion by China or by the Beijing government, but rather by the Chinese Communist Party, but because that's what it is. The Chinese government is the political arm of the Chinese Communist Party. The Chinese military is the military arm of the Chinese Communist Party. It's the Chinese Communist Party that is all powerful. How would you like to have the U.S. military be not the military of the United States, but the military of the Democrat Party or the Republican Party, of any party, right? We wouldn't like that, would we? Certainly the other people who are not Democrats would not like that at all. Speaking at an event hosted by the Center for Strategic and International Studies on June 27, Clark said that China's military is advancing its capabilities, procedures, and technologies at a pace never seen before. He added that China is also learning from ongoing conflicts to improve its ability to operate at a joint military capacity. We spend a lot of our time thinking about how to counter a cross-strait invasion, Clark said. The Taiwan Strait, a narrow waterway separating mainland China and Taiwan, is only about 80 miles wide at its narrowest point. Clark said the strait is now being watched by an unblinking eye, with multiple countries are working together to deter the CCP from carrying out the invasion. Clark said the U.S. military is taking measures to ensure that China will face more challenges if it attempts to invade Taiwan. The chance of being able to conduct an uncontested or successful wet gap crossing of that scale is very, very small, Clark said. So our efforts to continue to make that problem set more difficult for the Chinese is where we spend a lot of our time. The Taiwan Strait is a focal point of geopolitical tensions as the CCP continues to label Taiwan a rogue province that should come under CCP control and its socialist model of governance. Wait, no, not democratic socialist? Actually, North Korea, what is North Korea's official name? Democratic People's Republic of Korea, the DPRK, right? East Germany's official name before until it got absorbed by West Germany? The German Democratic Republic, right? So communists have their own definition of democracy. So when someone like the Mamdani, the New York candidate for mayor, and um, very likely the next New York mayor, says, "Well, I'm not a communist. I'm a democratic socialist." And let's ask him, "What do you mean by democratic? What do you mean by democratic? Are you taking the Marxist-Leninist definition of democratic?" Of course, he will give something else. He'll lie, of course, but oh no, no, no. I mean, of the people, for the people, by the people. Correct. He quotes King. He'll quote Lincoln, I'm sure, or George Washington, or well, maybe not slave owners. Maybe he will not quote the slave owners. Anyway, Taiwan has been a self-ruled island since the Chinese Nationalist Party, or Kuomintang retreated there after the Chinese Civil War with the CCP in 1949. And today, Kuomintang is the most pro-Beijing political party on Taiwan. Go figure. Anyway, Taiwan has continuously claimed legitimacy as the government of all China. That was certainly true in the beginning. I don't know if that, I guess that's true technically, with no official peace treaty ever having been signed between the two warring factions. Taiwan has held presidential elections every 4 years since 1996, representing an alternative model of governance for China, and it continues building a military to defend itself against a potential CCP assault. The United States has been Taiwan's biggest arms supplier, approving sales such as drones, tanks, and anti-ship and air-to-air missiles. The United States has maintained a long-standing policy of strategic ambiguity, meaning not clearly stating whether the U.S. would come to defend Taiwan in the event of a CCP attack. Well, actually, Biden sort of reversed that, but Trump has brought it back to that strategic ambiguity. Park assumed command of U.S. Army Pacific in November last year, replacing General Charles A. Flynn. And it goes on and on and on and on and on and on. Let's see. U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth warned in May that CCP leader Xi Jinping has ordered his military to be capable of invading Taiwan by 2027, which means that I guess that means that today they're not, I guess, during a speech at the Shangri-La Dialogue in Singapore. Any attempt by communist China to conquer Taiwan by force would result in devastating consequences for the Indo-Pacific and the world, Hegseth said at the time. Yes, it would certainly shake up the world status quo. This is not Israel invading Syria or bombarding, Hezbollah in southern Lebanon, I'm sorry, or even Israel bombarding Iran. This would be a major catastrophe in terms of the world status quo. Although, as I often say, I do not presume to know the will of God. And God can work in strange ways. We'll have to see what he has in mind. Right? I know there are a lot of stories coming out of Beijing about Xi Jinping losing power and so forth, and that, and some of them I'm sure have some truth to them. I'm sure that is true, but it's really difficult to discern which do and which don't. I'm looking for one that Jim sent me. Here we go. Sent this to me recently. And okay, this is on x.com. Okay. That means I have to go into it with my X account. And well, I've been hesitating to report on these because I don't know how much is actually true. I think I'll go ahead and hesitate on this one as well. And I'm always doubly skeptical of people who say things that I want to hear. They may be right. Maybe they may be right, but we really don't know what's going on in China. It's really difficult to sort of read the tea leaves, as it were. Okay. All right. And by the way, the Taiwan vice president apparently was targeted for, well, let's see what this article says. Taiwan vice president tells Beijing she will not be intimidated after Prague plot revealed. CCP diplomats and agents followed and planned to physically intimidate Taiwan's vice president in Prague last year, the Czech intelligence service disclosed. All right, so they do that kind of thing. They're not nice people, that's for sure. All right, and let's go to let's go to the big beautiful bill. It's sort of becoming, I guess, closer and closer to the finish line. The Senate is going to try and vote on this on today. Schumer is going to force a reading of the entire bill, which is something like 1,000 pages, and that's his kind of last-ditch effort to block it or to slow it down. But also, it's not entirely certain that it's going to pass because some Republicans are opposed to it. But we'll have to see what happens today and tomorrow. But then once that happens, right, then the House has passed their version, which is different. And so then the House and Senate will each appoint a few people, and they will get together and they will try to come up with a common bill. It has to be exactly the same. And then that common bill will be passed again by the House and Senate, and only then will it go to the president for a signature. And they're trying to get all this done by the end of this week, okay? By Friday, that's July 4th. So they're going to be busy, and so we'll see what they finally come up with. But right now, the Congressional Budget Office, which is supposedly bipartisan, says that the bill would add $3.3 trillion to the U.S. debt, not all at once, and this is over a 10-year period. The CBO estimates the Senate bill would increase the deficit by nearly $3.3 trillion from 2025 to 2024, a nearly $1 trillion increase over the House-passed bill, which CBO is projected would add $2.4 trillion to the debt over a decade. They said $2.4, but yeah, I'm pretty sure that's trillion. Okay. The analysis has also found that 11.8 more Americans would become uninsured by 2034 if the bill became law, and increase over the scoring for the House-passed version of the bill, which predicted 10.9 million more people would be without health insurance. Is health insurance a right? I don't know. Certainly something needs to be done about people who, well, something needs to be done about medical costs. That's number one. That's number one. I've been seeing some doctors in Korea since arriving here in January. I'm 73 and different parts are beginning to show wear and tear and that kind of stuff. And I don't have insurance right now in Korea. But what I find, interestingly, is that I pay, without insurance, I pay my Korean doctors about the same amount that I would pay my American doctors where I have insurance. Okay, I have Medicare plus another secondary payer. Where I have insurance, and I find that interesting. So, and it's interesting. I go in and the young ladies at the counter where I first go in, they're always very sympathetic. Oh, you don't have insurance yet? And by the way, I am about to get insurance, but oh, you don't have insurance? Oh no, well, you poor thing. Can you afford this? And I'm sitting there and I'm listening to people pay their bills. All right, they come out of the doctor's office and they go up and they say, okay, how much is it? And the lady at the counter will say, okay, your amount is 1,501. And I'm listening to this, I think, wait a second, 1,501? That's like $1.10, $1.10. That's their copay. No wonder, I'm paying like $30 or something like that. Without insurance, I'm paying $30 or something. And they're paying like $1.10 with, oh, not everyone is $1. The most expensive one that I've heard though so far is 5,001, which is what? About or less than $4. That's still less than $4, right? 13 times 4 is 52. Yeah, so it'd be less than a little bit less than $4, about maybe. Uh, is that right? Yeah, I got that right. Yeah, maybe $3.80 or 90 cents, something like that. That's the most expensive price that I've heard. Sitting there waiting for my turn to go in to see the doctor. So no wonder they're so sympathetic. But uh, and just to let you, I had a CT scan. How much do you think I paid for a CT scan without insurance? How many thousands of dollars do you think I had to pay? No, no, no. It was about $200. So there's something wrong. There's something wrong somewhere. Either Korea's not charging enough or the America's charging way more than it should. But something is definitely wrong with the way that people are charged for medical appointments and procedures and tests and so forth and so on. Right? So anyway, to have the problem of people not having insurance, um, I think it does. I think it does. It does. The solution lies somewhere in well, turning the Constitution, get the government out of healthcare, right? Get the government out of healthcare, and it's only a private sector for healthcare. I think that would probably bring bring a great deal of competition and bring the prices down a lot, a lot. Okay. All right. So anyway, even before the CBO's estimate, Republicans were at odds over the contours of the legislation, with some resisting the cost-saving proposals to reduce spending on Medicaid and food aid programs, even as other Republicans say those proposals don't go far enough. So the people who support it say that, oh, we're just knocking out the fraud. Others say that that's not the case. Republicans are slashing the programs as a way to help cover the cost of extending some $3.8 trillion in Trump tax breaks put in place during his first term. The push poll was on vivid display Saturday night as a routine procedural vote to take up the legislation in the Senate was held open for hours as Vice President J.D. Vance and Republican leaders met with several holdouts. The bill ultimately advanced in a 51-49 vote, but the path ahead is fraught with voting on amendments still to come. All right, so we'll see what happens today, and I expect this is going to be in the news, quite prominent in the news over the next few days. Okay, well, let's see what else is in Newsmax. Trump says he's not offering Iran anything. Not speaking to Iran, not offering the country anything, and he reiterated his assertion that the United States had totally obliterated Tehran's nuclear facilities. And by the way, the UN watchdog, the IAEA, International Atomic Agency administration, has largely confirmed what President Trump has been saying. So CNN notwithstanding, New York Times notwithstanding, it looks like the attack was quite successful. Okay. And let's see here. Iran, the UN envoy vows that the nuclear enrichment will never stop. And yeah, I'm sure that's true. I'm sure that is true because now more than ever, they're going to say, now more than ever, we need nuclear weapons. And next time we just have to make sure that we have the weapons so that we can threaten Israel with a nuclear attack so that they will not, so the United States will be not quite so eager to attack us. This is going to be their logic. Iran's ambassador to the United Nations, Amir, Iran's ambassador to the United Nations told CBS News Face the Nations on Sunday that Tehran will never stop enriching uranium, that it is an inalienable right of the rogue regime under the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. Well, But the problem is that, at least in the estimate of the United States and Israel, and I think others as well, they were enriching beyond what is necessary for civilian use. He opened the interview by invoking Iran's obligations and entitlements under the treaty. You know that we are a responsible member of the NPT, and according to this treaty, we have the mutual rights. It means that the right of one side will be the obligation of the other side. And he said research and development, production of uranium, and use of peaceful energy, as well as legal protection by the IAEA for our activity and technical cooperation for our development programs. Pressed by host Margaret Brennan, and she's a super lefty, on whether Iran intends to restart enrichment on its soil, Iravani replied, I think that enrichment will never stop. So he avoided answering whether it would be on his soil. So perhaps Iran will do it somewhere else, but still continue. He characterized enrichment as our right and inalienable right, and we want to implement this right, adding that such activity will remain always in a peaceful manner. The ambassador also addressed recent reports in Iran's newspaper accusing International Atomic Energy Agency Director General of being an Israeli spy and calling for his arrest. Iravani denied any official threats. No, there is not any threat. It is a very clear law of our parliament that they have suspended our cooperation with the IAEA because the agency has not implemented their rights, their responsibility, but there is not any threat against the general director of the IAEA. Okay. And so we'll see what happens with that. So, but I guess it'll be a while before they're able to actually start doing that kind of thing, start doing that kind of mischief. So we're good for a little while anyway. And let's see here. Defiant Iran decries Trump's psychological media games. Oh, well, okay. He does do that, yes. And let's see here. IHF, Iran is just a matter of months from a nuke. That's the IAEA chief, who would be, I guess, one newspaper in Iran accused of being an Israeli spy. So this, he says, Iran is still just a matter of months from a nuke. Well, that's not very good news. Capacities they have are there. They can have, in a matter of months, I would say a few cascades of centrifuges spinning and producing enriched uranium or less than that. But as I said, frankly speaking, one cannot claim that everything has disappeared and there's nothing there. Delivered severe damage, according to Grossi, making Trump, Secretary Hegseth, and Chief of Staff Kane's statement true. But it is also true that Iran has come to the table to give up future nuclear weapons aspirations, has to come to the table to give and allow full vetting of their nuclear centrifuges and uranium enrichment. It is clear that there has been severe damage, but it's not total damage, first of all, Grossi told both Margaret Brennan. And secondly, Iran has the capacities there, industrial and technological capacities. So if they so wish, they will be able to start doing this again. And we have to go back to the table and have a technically sound solution to this. Otherwise, this will hit us again in terms of situation which is not well clarified. And this is an opportunity. We do have an opportunity now, right? So it seems that the bombs were not the solution that we were hoping for. I was hoping for at least 2 or 3 years, or even 2 or 3 years would be a short time, but a few months, it's certainly much, much shorter than I would hope. Does this mean we have to bomb them again in a few months? Well, that doesn't sound like a good idea. Certainly something has to be done about Iran and the mullahs who are in charge of it. It would be best if there could be a change of regime there. But even if there is a change of regime, the new regime may say, "Hey, well, look at what we have. Yeah, let's continue our right under the NPT to enrich uranium. Why don't we do that? So that's possible if the new regime would say that. Although one would think that the new regime would be, well, you always hope that, with the new regime, there's a new start, and you always say, oh, now the adults are in the room and stuff like that. That's what we always say with a new regime, even if it's a presidency in America. But it turns out that they're pretty much the same, pretty much the same. So what are you going to do about nuclear weapons like Iran, like North Korea? Right? You want to keep bombing Iran? That doesn't seem like a very good solution. And certainly not long term. But if one bombing can only set them back a few months, that doesn't seem like a solution. Anyway, we'll see what happens here. Okay. Okay. And we got some immigration news here. Trump floats temporary pass for migrant farm workers. Well, are they going to get paid minimum wage? Probably not. Let them pay taxes and work legally under the supervision of farmers, demonstrating reasonable flexibility in immigration enforcement policy, NBC News reported. Well, would sound then like they would have to get paid minimum wage, but well, let's wait and see. The administration is working on it right now to create some kind of a temporary pass where people pay taxes, where the farmer can have a little control as opposed to you walk in and take everybody away. Trump said ICE agents have been removing people that have been working there for 15 and 20 years who are good, who possibly came in incorrectly, hurting farmers who rely on experienced labor. What we're going to do is we're going to do something for farmers where we can let the farmer sort of be in charge. The farmer knows he's not going to hire a murderer, he said. That's one important thing about legal versus illegal immigration. You know who you're getting. You know who the murderers are. You know who the child rapists are, and who the violent criminals are, and you don't let them in. The Department of Homeland Security spokesperson reiterated that worksite enforcement remains a cornerstone of our efforts to safeguard public safety, national security, and economic stability, and that there will be no safe spaces for industries who harbor violent criminals or purposely try to undermine ICE's efforts. The statement echoed remarks issued earlier this month after the White House paused, then resumed raids in the agriculture, restaurant, and hotel industries. Trump first signaled a shift on June 12th, posting on Truth Social that farmers and hotel and leisure businesses reported losing very good longtime workers to immigration enforcement, calling the jobs almost impossible to replace and vowing changes are coming. NBC News reported that ICE briefly halted worksite arrests in those sectors before restarting days later. Okay, so I guess we'll have to wait and see how that's going to work out. As you know, I think that if someone is paying taxes, if they, well, of course, we have to know who they are. They go through the background check, and they have a job and they're not committing serious felonies here, then let them stay on the condition that there is no path to citizenship and no right of sponsoring relatives or anybody else to come in after them. So no chain immigration. That's my opinion. Okay. The Iran report leaked to uncut President Trump. Apparently, it was leaked somewhere in Congress, which I guess would tend to point the finger at Democrats. Yes, anything to undermine President Trump. That's their ultimate goal. Doesn't matter if they have to destroy the nation in the process. Okay, Demon's narrative to downplay Iran's strike, right? And then Mamdani shows Democrats far left, father facing lawfare as Trump. Eduardo Bolsonaro is of Brazil, I guess. Okay. And in Idaho, someone set a wildfire on purpose, a forest fire on purpose, so as to bring out firefighters. And then he ambushed them when they came out. Sounds like the work of anarchists. Gallup poll, just 36% of Democrats are very proud to be American. And this is because they're getting so much propaganda from the media that they choose to believe, from CNN, from MSNBC, from CBS, ABC, and all the leftist media. And people are not thinking for themselves. They're not doing their own research. And so they just take that as gospel truth. And of course, if you take that as truth, then you're not going to be very proud to be American. And Trump's economy defies doomsayers. We talked about this, I think, last week. There are a number of reasons why the tariffs have not resulted in higher taxes and higher prices. But we'll have to see how that goes months from now. All right. And Gaza ceasefire deal, we also talked about that on Saturday. Russia says NATO defense spending could collapse the alliance. Moscow planned to cut its defense spending, but that he thought a decision by NATO to increase their own defense spending could ultimately lead to the alliance's collapse. It's interesting that Moscow plans to cut its defense spending. Is that after the war or what now? NATO leaders on Wednesday backed the big increase in defense spending that Trump had demanded and said they were united in the resolve to defend each other against what they cast as a threat from Russia. Okay. Okay, I have to see. Well, we don't have too much more information on that. Like, when are they going to actually cut their spending? And stock markets are at record highs. Okay, well, good luck with that. Someone actually asked me which stocks I thought they should buy. I told them I'm the wrong person. Okay. Shall I repeat the two ironclad rules of the financial markets by Tim Elder? Number one, first rule, anything that Tim Elder buys will go down in price immediately after he buys it. Number two, anything that Tim Elder sells will go up in price immediately after he sells it. So people call me and say, what are you selling? I'm not in the market. My wife and I got out of the market a few years back, I guess it's been. Yeah. I think it was before COVID. Yeah, it was before COVID. So it's been a few years. We have our, as we have our, what shall I say, our wealth. Can I use that word? In assets outside the financial system. So you can take that for whatever. What do you think it means? Okay. All right, Trump, we have a buyer for TikTok. Oh yeah, TikTok is still up for sale. It was supposed to go out of business in the U.S. months ago, but President Trump, has a sweet spot for it because it helped him get elected, he says. And so he continues to help the Chinese Communist Party gather data on U.S. users. He said in an interview broadcast on Sunday that he had found a buyer for TikTok, a group of very wealthy people who will reveal he will reveal in about 2 weeks. Everything is 2 weeks. Trump made the remarks in an interview on Fox News Channel. Okay, and Trump said earlier this month that he had signed an executive order extending the June 19 deadline for China-based ByteDance to divest the U.S. assets of short video app TikTok for 90 days. He keeps giving them 90 days, 90 days, 90 days, 90 days. No, so he had already twice granted a reprieve. Okay, so okay. It's not clear how many times Trump can or will keep extending the ban as the government continues to try to negotiate a deal for TikTok, which is owned by China's ByteDance. He has amassed more than 15 million followers on TikTok since he joined last year, and he has credited the trend-setting platform with helping him gain traction among youthful young voters. He said in January that he has a warm spot for TikTok. It's frustrating that he doesn't put much emphasis on the fact that the Chinese Communist Party is gathering data on young people in America who will later become politicians and business leaders and leaders in various parts of American society. And the Communist Party intends to use that data when the time comes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this one, the Washington Post reporter charged with child porn case. I think this was actually out on Saturday. I don't think I got around to it, but yeah, this is pretty terrible. Pulitzer Prize winning journalist at the Washington Post has been arrested and charged with possession of child pornography after federal agents discovered explicit videos on his work computer while searching his home, according to federal prosecutors. Breitbart had the story first. Okay. A veteran Post journalist was arrested Thursday and charged with possession of child pornography. Who served as deputy director of video at the Post, appeared. So he's not just a cub reporter at the bottom of the rung. No, he's deputy director of video. Search of his residence. Officials said agents executed a search warrant on June 26th and discovered 11 videos depicting child sexual abuse material on Legros's work-issued laptop. Right. So that's the kind of people that the Post has working for them. And this is just not even the tip of the iceberg. This is just one molecule at the top of the iceberg. Still the real child traffickers and child predators in America and in Britain and in Europe and in Japan and Korea, China, all these other countries. The elites are still enjoying protection. They protect each other. And this guy, I don't know how he managed to get himself caught, but he is, well, as a deputy director of video of the Post, I guess he's not very high on their masthead. So I guess maybe he's sort of being sacrificed. But where are all the unaccompanied minors that came in during the Biden administration? Why aren't we hearing about them? Why aren't we hearing about them being rescued? Right? Or even being tracked and found? The DHS still doesn't know where they are. The Republicans are always asking that question to the Biden administration staff, but of course they don't seem to be asking that question to the Trump administration staff of the DHS. What are you doing about those children, the unaccompanied minors? Are you going through the files to find out where they were sent, who they were placed with? And are you checking on how they are, whether they're being abused? Were they placed in good homes? Hmm. All right, let's take a look. We've seen Epoch Times. Okay, let's take a look at Fox and see what they're doing. Uh, yeah. Police share. Oops. I think I can just. Yeah. Police share major update on deadly Idaho firefighter ambush. Man with gun found dead on mountain where active shooter situation unfolded. Ah, boy. What goes into the mind of that kind of a person? Is this just a case of spiritual or evil spirits doing something, or did he have a personal grudge against the fire? That's hard to imagine, though. Maybe he had a grudge against one of the members of the firefighting force. I don't know. Okay. All right, and someone tried to disrupt the Senate debate on the big beautiful bill. Already, they're at it, I guess. Already this morning, Israeli attack on Tehran facility leaves 71 dead. As nuclear concerns linger, of course. Okay. And all right, I don't think I can, actually, I think Fox is not going to let me go into any of the articles until I give them my email address. And but okay. Oh, I wasn't sharing that with you, was I? Let me share this. We're now in Breitbart. All right, let's see here. Heroic firefighters attacked on Canfield Mountain, right? Okay. And donors sour a potential Kamala run. It's about time. It's amazing that they were. Well, people like Bloomberg, I guess, and Soros. I guess they may have considered supporting her for whatever it is she wanted to do with California governor, or whatever. Political reports a stinging series of interviews with Democratic funders who remained troubled about Harris's billion-dollar campaign, which not only failed badly, but ended in debt and left lingering questions about her role in the cover-up of President Joe Biden's cognitive decline. Said one unnamed six-figure California donor in the report. Kamala just reminds you, we are in this complete storm with Biden. We got bamboozled. I think she did the best she could in that situation, but obviously she knew about the cognitive decline too. I've written so many checks because I knew the Trump administration would be horrible, but we're living in a nightmare because of the Democrats. I'm furious at them, truly. Others said on the record to the influential left-wing news outlet that what seemed a good idea at first now was being questioned. There was more enthusiasm at first for Kamala to run for California governor, right? And I think it has waned a bit. We'll see. Yeah, we'll see. But right, recently the Democrat Party has been running all these crazy people. I mean, New York Mayor, for example, Mamdani. I guess Kamala, would he be worse for California than Mamdani will be for New York? That's an excellent question. And I don't know who would be worse. I don't know. Because we don't know how capable Mamdani is as a leader of an organization, right? So you can have crazy ideas and be a good leader of an organization. Harris had crazy ideas and she was a bad leader of an organization. So I guess Mamdani, if he can prove himself as a leader of an organization, of course, then that just means that he's more effective in doing bad things. And the good thing about Kamala Harris was that she couldn't get anything done. So it's a fun to watch these things take place. But we do know one thing, though, that God's kingdom is coming on the earth, not in the air, but on the earth. And all this is some stuff that God can use to bring about his kingdom. So God bless, Godspeed. May his kingdom come quickly.